Hi, this is Jessica Ackerman. In this video, I'm going to review all of the theories that we've learned in this course. In addition, I'm going to go over the theories that best align to my philosophy of best practices of effective teaching. I will also explain how these theories align to my professional needs. Lastly, I will explain how my understanding of learning has changed throughout this course. Let's begin with the theory of behaviorism. Although there were many theorists that added value to this theory, the two main theorists were Watson and Skinner. The theory of behaviorism was used to predict or control behavior. The idea was to add or take away a stimuli, and by doing so, a prediction can be made on how an animal or a human would most likely respond. This theory puts all behaviors in one of two categories: respondent and operant. Respondent behaviors are involuntary, such as a baby startling. Operant behaviors are those elicited by a stimuli. In order to elicit a response, positive and negative reinforcements can be used. Additionally, in order to change behaviors, punishment can also be used. The next theory we learned early on in this course was social learning theory by Bandura. This theory was all about self-efficacy and one's belief in themselves. Driscoll states something in her book that wrapped this theory up for me. She stated that someone with high intelligence and low self-efficacy may not be as successful as someone with low intelligence and high self-efficacy. One must have the motivation and the growth mindset to always strive to learn more and continually grow. This theory also discusses the importance of working together and learning from each other. The next theory studied was meaningful learning and schema theory. David Ausubel was the theorist. This theory attempts to explain how people use past knowledge or schema in order to understand, build upon, and connect to new learning. Ausubel states in this theory that three things must be in place in order for meaningful learning to occur. First, the learner must be engaged and willing to learn. To help this happen, whatever is being learned must be meaningful to the learner. The learner must recognize the need for the new information, and lastly, the learner has to have sufficient background knowledge or foundation in the subject area to make those connections. Moving on to cognitive information processing. This theory explains how people store new learning and how that new learning moves from sensory to working to long-term memory. Teachers must make sure that they are explicit in telling learners what they expect them to learn in a unit so that the learners know where they should direct their attention or focus. Self-regulated learning is where learners set short and long-term goals and monitor their progress toward those goals along the way. These goals could be academic or behavioral goals. Learners should be taught skills to help students become more in charge of their own learning. Driscoll explains there are 4 benefits to helping students become more in charge of their own learning. First, having students in charge of their own learning gains the learner's attention. Then helps the learner better understand the relevance of the new information. Students' confidence will be built by seeing gains in their own achievement. And lastly, they will have satisfaction when they are able to set goals and meet them. Moving on to cognitivism. Cognitivism is the belief that humans learn from their experiences and interactions with the world around them. These experiences just grow and increase from childhood to adult. Piaget has identified different stages that all humans go through at certain ages. These stages are sensory motor, pre-operational, concrete operational, and formal operational. Piaget also states that there are 2 stages one can enter when learning new information. First is equilibrium state. This is when new knowledge is simply added to existing schema. Disequilibrium is the new knowledge somehow changes what one already knows or thinks. Situated learning is the idea that knowledge cannot just stand alone. In order for one to actually have meaningful knowledge and understanding, one must be able to apply the new knowledge in real-world situations to solve real problems. Apprenticeships are just one way in which Driscoll explains is a beneficial way to apply new knowledge and skills in order to gain a deeper understanding. Constructivism was brought about by Dewey, Piaget, and Vygotsky. Constructivism is similar to cognitivism in the way that the belief is that learners learn through their experiences. Constructivism relies more heavily on the experiences with other learners. According to this theory, collaboration with peers is most beneficial. Driscoll gives many examples in her book of different online programs that promote learning in this way. Gagne's theory of instructivism is the last theory in this course. My major takeaway from this theory was the 9 events of instruction. These are the elements that must be in place in a lesson in order for the lesson to be most meaningful to the learner. The 9 elements are gaining the learner's attention, informing the learner of the objective, stimulating recall of prior learning, presenting the stimulus, providing learning guidance, eliciting performance, providing feedback, assessing performance, and enhancing retention and transfer. While examining all 9 of these theories of instruction, I was able to make many connections with my personal prior knowledge and schema. I am an assistant principal in an elementary school. Having witnessed many different approaches to learning and teaching, some of these theories spoke to me more than others. I believe 5 of these theories best align with my own personal beliefs of learning. These 5 theories are behaviorism, social learning theory, self-regulated learning, situated cognition, and instructivism. I will now explain why I believe these are the most important and how they impact my professional needs as an assistant principal each day on my elementary campus. First of all, I believe wholeheartedly that if a student's physical and emotional needs are not first met, they will not learn new academic skills efficiently. My experience with discipline in the elementary classroom has led me to study different behavioral techniques and strategies in order to elicit certain responses from students. This day and age, we are asking students to sit still for extended periods of time and learn or master skills when they may not be developmentally ready. In these instances, students oftentimes act out. I have found different techniques that fall in line with the behaviorist theory of reinforcements and punishments. I have used strategies such as if, then. If a student does a required activity, then they can do a preferred activity. An example of a negative reinforcement would be when a student struggles to complete a long math assignment. The teacher can give the student a sticker each time they complete a problem correctly, showing their strategies. The student can then use that sticker to opt out of one of the problems on the page. The student can earn several stickers for putting effort into the problems that he or she does complete correctly. One example of a punishment strategy utilized at my school is the 3-dot system. A student has 3 dots on their desk. Each time the student does an undesirable behavior, they lose a dot. If all 3 dots are lost, the student then has a known consequence. The next theory that aligns with my beliefs of meaningful learning is the social learning theory. This theory is seen each and every day on my elementary campus. Teachers must meet by grade level once a week as a professional learning community. In this meeting, teachers learn from collaboration with other professionals on best practices and strategies of effective teaching. The administration team also meets weekly in their own professional learning community. Our school also promotes the belief of a growth mindset as opposed to a fixed one. No matter what one's intelligence, you can always learn and grow and get better. We promote this knowing that a teacher with low self-efficacy and a can't-do attitude will rub off on their students. We want the teachers to become role models and they're cheerleaders for their students. Self-regulated learning was a huge one for me. We recently began the Texas Teacher Evaluation and Support System to appraise our teachers, and a huge part of the appraisal system is moving students to become more in charge of their own learning by setting goals and monitoring their progress along the way. Because of this, we have coached our teachers in different strategies to help them move to a more student-centered classroom. Some of these strategies we implemented were having students set goals for curriculum-based assessments and benchmarks. Students then tracked their progress on bar graphs or pictorial models of graduated cylinders. Additionally, teachers were trained to not only ask the higher order questions, but to start having students develop and create the questions themselves. This was higher order thinking and helped students be more in charge of their curriculum. Lastly, we incorporated more discovery learning lessons and mnemonic type devices to help students solve problems independently. Next, we have situated learning. This is one of the most important beliefs in learning. This is where a student must actually apply new learning in order to have a deeper, more meaningful understanding. My favorite example of this is Spanish class. You can learn all the rules, vocabulary, and grammar possible. However, if you do not actually speak it to other Spanish speakers, you will not fully understand and be able to be fluent, and will most likely lose the language altogether. Examples of ways we have students apply their learning in the school setting include meaningful problem solving in the classroom, or even writing persuasive letters to legislature. Also, we allow our pre-kindergarten classes to go on one field trip a month to places such as the grocery store, post office, and bank to use their skills that they've been learning in class. Our student council for each grade level helps run the school-wide and community events, fundraisers, and accounts for all money collected during these activities. Lastly, there is instructivism. We require teachers to turn in lesson plans each week. We require certain elements of the lesson cycle to be evident in their plans because this is best practice and has been proven to be effective. We also have put a big emphasis on the objective of the lesson. We as administration teams expect to see the learning objective on the board of the classroom that aligns with what the student will be able to do at the end of the lesson. We also ask that teachers discuss this objective with the students at the beginning of the lesson so that they're able to focus on exactly what will be expected of them. The objective helps the teacher to stay on task and the students as well. How has my understanding changed throughout the course of this class? I now realize that the techniques and strategies that we use today have been long in effect, and how valuable their understanding and meaning can be to education. I also have realized that theories are just that, theories. Not one of them is concrete in an absolute way of learning. These theories should be analyzed and used in conjunction with one another in order to create an even more meaningful learning environment. And lastly, everyone learns differently. One technique might work for one individual and have no effect on the next. As educators, we must meet each child's needs when and how they require. I have received all of my information from the Driscoll text and all of the resources available in the class modules. Thank you.